Hi and welcome to this latest episode of my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Coach T. This is what I look like. And today we're going to tackle the top 3 things to consider as a beginner in your health and fitness journey. And if you're a little bit further ahead, we can look at the top 3 things and how to review them when we need to. Pen and paper, let's get into it. Okay, number 1 is exercise. Where do we and what do we do? Number 1, exercise. The first thing to consider is your knowledge of exercise and where you're going to exercise. So for example, if you don't know very much, you would have to do a little bit of research and find out some basic movements. But if you don't have any equipment, you may have to do that with body weight. If you're a member of the gym and you've never been before, you're going to have to do some research and then go into the gym. So there's a few factors to consider. So first of all, find out exactly where you're going to train. Now you might train at both home and the gym, which is absolutely fine. Then you can do different things on different days. The things I would focus on is working your whole body a couple of times a week with what we call compound movements. These are basically movements that require more than one muscle group to do a certain lift or movement. So example, pulling towards you like this, or pushing away from you. Now there's quite a few of these, there's about 6, but learning what they are, utilizing that at the gym or at home. So for example, let's look at the pushing away one. The pushing away one would be essentially a seated chest press, where you sit down, you select the pin, and you push the weight away from you. The one at home could be a kneeling press up. May not be that good and that clinical at the beginning, but it could be something that you could utilize at home for the same kind of result. Or you could even lean against the wall. So learning your compound movements and making sure you do those, all of them, 2 or 3 times a week. That's where I would start, whether it be the gym or at home. Don't worry too much about isolation exercises at the moment. These things like bicep curls or leg extensions for the front of your quads. Just work on the compound stuff. You can bring the isolation stuff in. By the way, isolation means one muscle group to do a movement. You can bring that stuff in at a later date. So let's just summarize training very simply. Find out where you're going to train and how often, which will be 2-3 times a week for beginner. You're going to work on the compound movements, whether they be at home or at the gym or a combination of both, and try and vary what you do if you're going to be going into the gym and training at home. And then pay no attention or very little attention at the beginning to isolation exercises. We can introduce them week 4, week 8, week 12, wherever we feel it necessary. Cool. Okay, nutrition will be next. The first thing I would consider with my nutrition is, am I eating enough good, wholesome food? Am I ordering food? Am I buying it from the supermarket pre-made? I would try and change the ratio of what you're consuming. Whole foods, let's go up. Processed foods, let's bring them down. If you analyze exactly what you're doing now and it's 50-50, your first week would be try and make it 60% whole food and 40% processed. And then week 2 or week 3, we can change it to 70-30 or thereabouts. And then by week 4, we can be in the 80-20 split that I favor for most clients and most people. That being 80% of whole food, natural, organic stuff, and 20% processed, like made stuff. You definitely want to be mindful of your calorie intake if you're going to be trying to put on weight or lose weight or just want to be better with your energy balance. Now, most of you out there will be getting in touch or watching this video because you're looking to lose a little bit of weight, because that's predominantly my client base. Now, if that's the case, you want to be mindful of those non-processed foods and processed foods, the calorie intake that comes within those foods. You don't want it to be too high. Now, at the beginning, when you start changing the ratio of processed and non-processed, you can disregard the calories and go into it on week 3 or week 4. When you do go into it, you might have to just look at what food you're consuming and how many calories are in that food, and then maybe change for some substitutes or lower the amount that you have to decrease the calories so you're not overeating. If you're trying to lose weight and you're eating too much calories, it won't happen. Yeah, counting calories is something that we'll do together at a later date. Don't be too stressed about it in the beginning. Maybe just get familiar with what calories are in types of foods. You could even use an app like MyFitnessPal, for example, to help you with what calories are in the foods that you're already consuming. If you've heard of the word macros, protein, carbohydrates, and fats, which are the ones that you'll deal with if you're working with me, don't stress about those for the first few weeks. We will come to those in a different day or a different week, and I'll probably make a different video based on this in this series later on. And lastly, with your nutrition, making sure that you consume enough water. Hydration is very important for all results, all energy levels, and all functions of your body. So I would definitely try and get 2 litres in every day from today onwards. So let's say you fail today and you slightly fail tomorrow. On the 3rd day, you might get it nailed. You might have to buy an extra water bottle that is big enough to allow you to drink all that water, or just have it readily available in all the areas, car, your office, your coffee table. You do what you need to do, but make sure 2 litres is on your priority list. And lastly, sleep. Now, sleep is very important for any result. As we get older, 35 plus, it's even more essential that we get the sleep so those results can come. Now, generally speaking, 6 to 8 hours is the time frame I would recommend anyone to have on a daily basis. If you're slightly under or slightly over, that's okay. Listen to your body. When I'm under 6 hours, I get a lot of kickback, I get a little bit of stress and anxiety, and I get some fatigue, and I don't train as well. When I'm over 8 hours, I feel too rested and I'm not as productive. So somewhere in between is where I like to go. Find your happy medium and stick with it. If you are struggling to sleep, there'll be 1 or 2 reasons. Number 1, you're too alert at night time. Maybe you're on your phone too much and you've got too much blue light. So have a cut-off point. Maybe you're stressed and you need to offload and talk to someone, or even write it down in a journal. Or maybe your nutrition isn't as good because you're at the beginning, you haven't done the 80-20 split yet. Maybe you need to increase your magnesium, which you can find in Whole Foods, or you can just buy supplements and increase your magnesium. Very simple, very simple. Okay, so let's say that you are past that stage into, not a very beginner, but you've done a little bit and you're thinking, how can I improve my training? My top couple of tips for improving your training when you're just past beginner are always do what we call progressive overload. Now, I have an episode of this on my podcast on Spotify, Coach T's podcast. But essentially, progressive overload is where you add a little bit of time or add a little bit of repetitions or add a little bit of weight to your current exercises to increase the intensity a little bit as you go along. Make sure you're doing that every week or every couple of weeks. When you feel like you've gone as far as you can, it might be time for a program change. Yes, and if you're a little bit ahead with the compound lifts, you could introduce some isolation stuff. I would tend to put my upper body isolation stuff with my upper body exercises. So if you're doing the chest press that I mentioned earlier on in this episode, doing a tricep or a lat raise for your shoulders, or even a front raise, that would make more sense than just doing a leg extension for your legs when you're already working your upper body. Yes, if you are already in tune with your calorie counting and you haven't looked at changing that, dropping it slightly when your weight stagnates or doesn't drop anymore, then I would wait a few weeks. Make sure you've got all the other things in alignment, like your sleep and your steps, and you've not missed any training, and your accuracy of tracking. You could drop your calories a little bit when you need to, but just be mindful of that you are decreasing your body's energy to do things. So be mindful of that. Also, macros, yes, protein is essential. I'm going to do another episode on this, but protein, if you're not at 1.5 or 1.8 times your body weight in kilograms as a minimum, get to that next. That will be your next stage. Cool, yeah, and if your sleep is okay and you are resting well, I just think maybe spacing out your workouts would be a good idea, or decreasing your rest time in your training sessions. That will increase your intensity, which will give you a bit more progressive overload. But yeah, making sure that you rest your upper body the day after you're training it, and you can maybe train your lower body that time, things like that. So just bringing in new structure to what you've already been doing. If you were training 3 times a week and you go up to 4, you may need to rejig your program and rest a little bit differently. Okay, cool. So those are my 3 top tips: training, nutrition, and sleep and rest, essentially. I think for a first episode. If you're a beginner, this is very simple for you to get grips of. If you do have any questions, just pop them in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, Coach Tarek Robertson is my handle. You should go over there. You can DM me the word YouTube in your question, and I'll actually reply a lot quicker within 48 hours. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.